I can't help but think that this is one of Steve Kerr's biggest years as a head coach. I mean, obviously, he's got titles and pelts on the wall. He's not reapplying for a job or anything like that, but he's nearing the end of his current contract with the Warriors. And this is just a window that is closing on the franchise, and time is running out, and everyone knows it. And Steve has to double down on recapturing a sense of urgency, which, let's face it, was nowhere to be found on the Golden State Warriors in last year's regular season. They have a sense of urgency with a lineup that, due to its age, I don't think it's unfair to bill it as delicate. Load management, I hate those words, but managing some loads is what Steve and his training staff is going to absolutely have to do to get this team to its finish line, healthy and ready to actually play playoff basketball. Steve has two rookies who must be folded into the mix properly for this to really fit, for it to fit from a future cap standpoint. Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis need to not turn into nothings. They need to turn into some things. And then he needs a big year 3 step forward for Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, the last remaining embers of the youth movement that never happened. These guys really got to step up and contribute, and that has been one of this franchise's blind spots. I'm not going to say it's just Steve's blind spot, but it's this coaching staff, this front office's blind spot. The Warriors need to be in win tonight mode as often as possible. Again, it's hard to sell urgency in an NBA regular season. I get that. But the urgency should be available for Steve to sell because he can point at the end of the road. He can see it coming. The entire Warriors basketball team is led by a core group of players that are smart enough to understand that their life cycle isn't in the beginning or in the middle. It's at the end. So you got to reestablish that sense of urgency, and this is where I think Kerr needs to pull on the strings delicately and carefully and make it happen. He's got Draymond back to being a vocal leader. I expect Draymond to be in full plumage as soon as the year begins. You got a GM now here who, I'm not saying he is filling the war chest with players that Steve wants to play, but he's definitely removed from Steve's war chest players he didn't want to play. So if you're going to have bodies on a bench, they should be conceptually available to the head coach. It feels like they're moving in the right direction from that standpoint. So that feels like good news. It's a big year for not just the Warriors and their players, but it's a big year for Steve Kerr. It's year 10 for Steve Kerr.